Hello viewers, Attorney Buado here again. Welcome to the Criminal Law Jurist. Our topic is the conflict between the police power of the state and the citizens' fundamental rights. So, the Constitution has placed several limitations on Congress when it enacts penal laws. So, what are these limitations? This is Episode 1, Part 1. All laws must conform to the Philippine Constitution, otherwise they will be struck down as unconstitutional. What are these limitations? Article 3 states in paragraph 1, no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Neither shall any person be deprived of the equal protection of laws. This section therefore contains two important limitations, the due process clause and the equal protection of laws. Then in section 19, paragraph 1, the Constitution says that excessive fines shall not be imposed, nor cruel, inhuman, or degrading penalty inflicted. Section 22, in its turn, contains two direct prohibitions: the enactment of ex post facto law and bill of attainder. Now let us take up the first limitation. All laws must comply with the due process requirement. What is due process and what is its purpose? There is no categorical definition given by law, but the Supreme Court has described it as a guarantee against arbitrary governmental encroachment in the life, liberty, and property of its citizens. It guarantees that no person will be arrested, charged in court, convicted, imprisoned, and made to pay fine or his property seized without being given notice that he is being prosecuted and given opportunity to be heard in his defense. What are the two forms of due process? Procedural due process. The procedures that the government must follow before it deprives a person of his life, liberty, or property. Therefore, government action must adhere to the established processes when it makes an intrusion into the private sphere. It requires the twin rights of the subject to notice and hearing. And there is a third requirement, the guarantee of being heard by an impartial and competent tribunal. On the other hand, substantive due process requires the intrinsic validity of the law. Intrinsic validity means that the law is reasonable, not arbitrary, in interfering with the citizens' rights. To determine whether the law is intrinsically valid, some questions must be answered. 1. Is there a public interest, a public welfare involved? Is the act reasonably necessary for the accomplishment of the legislature's purpose? Is it not unreasonable or oppressive? Is there sufficient foundation or reason in connection with the matter regulated? Or has there not been a capricious use of the legislature's power? Can the aims conceived be achieved by the means used? Is it not merely an unjustified interference with private interests? So let us see. Let us have some example of unreasonable penal legislation and therefore void. First, you remember the Cybercrime law? Its Section 12 was annulled by the Supreme Court because the authority it gives the law enforcement agencies collecting internet data is too sweeping and lacks restraint. While it says that traffic data collection should not disclose identities or content data, such restraint is but an illusion. For nothing can prevent law enforcement agencies holding this data in their hands from looking into the identity of the sender or receiver and what the data contains. This will unnecessarily expose the citizenry to leaked information or worse, to extortion from certain bad elements in this agency. Therefore, Section 12 of the Cybercrime law was annulled in Dicini versus Secretary of Justice on February 11, 2014. Another example, the Curfew Ordinances enacted by Manila and Navotas for minors. These were also declared invalid because they are intrinsically invalid, for they violate the minors' rights under Republic Act 9344, the law protecting the rights of minors. The minors in these ordinances were imposed penalties, which is prohibited by RA 9344. Ordinances must conform to laws enacted by Congress because Congress is superior than the local legislative power. Second, they also violate the parents' right to discipline their children, for the ordinances do not contain exemption for minors who are in the company of their parents when they are out at night during curfew hours. The parents are not allowed the right to take their children to religious places or other places at night. In sum, the ordinances violate substantive due process because they are unreasonable and arbitrary exercise by the local government units of their ordinance power. So there, viewers, let me give you pause so you can digest the information before we go to the equal protection of laws in the next episode. A very exciting topic because we will spice this with the violence against women and children as our example. We'll see each other in the next session, coming very soon. Meanwhile, you may post your questions in the comment section below.